people would be wonder, hey, generative AI has taken the world by storm since about 1.5 years, close to 2 years ago, when ChatGPT come into picture, right? So that's where the words like ChatGPT, that's where the words like generative AI become so popular. And everyone's forgotten that AI has been with us, around us, for many, many, many years, right? So if the audience here there's bankers, you will definitely aware that I simply call the world before generative AI, or even right now, as traditional AI. The purpose for traditional AI is really to discriminate use of AI, which means that we want to get AI to do one single thing in a very good way, right? So if you are bankers, I'm sure that you use the likes of machine learning, which is a methods of AI or deep learning or any other methods to do fraud detection, to do credit risk scoring, right? And here the example is algorithmic trading, right? And if you are e-commerce company, definitely the machine learning ways or deep learning way of doing dynamic pricing is not something that alien to you. So we have been doing it for many, many years. And that's really the AI in action, right? And it has been providing a lot of benefits to us, however, in a very narrow way, right? So you can't get the fraud detection AI to do dynamic pricing, right? So it's all different aspects. And the key goal for what happened then and now is for traditional AI is that we want to make prediction as accurate as possible, right? Which means that if the accuracy go up by 90-95%, that's a kind of a perfect world, right? That we are in, that we are getting very close to the nirvana, and that's really the principles or the definition of traditional AI. Now let's switch gear a bit. Generative AI, right? So what is generative AI? The key word now is generative. I actually preferred the China way of describing generative AI. They actually use 4 characters, AIGC. What that really means is that it's using AI to generate content. So generated content is mean GC, AIGC, right? So basically, in a nutshell, generative AI generate something. That something can be text, can be a image, can be an audio, can be software codes, can be syntactic data, can be anything of this, as long as you actually tell them instructions, right? So, hey, ChatGPT or something along that line, I'm going to Singapore for a 5-day trip, right? Please suggest to me the itinerary for me. That's fine. It will generate pretty okay results for you. I'm sure you have tried that before. However, in the world of generative AI, still there's one problem called hallucination, right? Which means that it start talking things that doesn't make sense, it's not fact checked, and so forth. So case in point, if you tried before, and I myself tried, I have been forcing generative AI like ChatGPT to recognize me as a prominent professor teaching in a prominent university like Harvard. Obviously, I'm not one, right? I'm just an entrepreneur. So that's the potential downfall of generative AI. And therefore, when we talk about using generative AI for enterprise use, there is a lot of careful thoughts that we need to put in place, right? Now, getting back to slides. According to McKinsey, while the hottest thing right now in town is still generative AI, is produce about 4.4 trillion of economic potential. However, in the current world and the past world of traditional AI, the economic potential is a lot more, 22 trillion. Now, I'm not suggesting that we should take one side or the other. Later on in my sharing, you can see that we can combine it together. And guess what? If I just combine the number, it's 26.4 billion, right? So that's a very good number for us to actually go for getting AI into your organization, regardless of traditional AI, generative AI, or combining both. So let me get to the next slides, right? So in the past, when we got an IT project, it can be AI, it can be blockchain, it can be any of the new things. It's basically the chief digital officer's role. It could potentially be a line of business role, right? It can also be potentially even the CEO wanted to do it. I'm sure Pak Lee has that experience too. A CEO want to champion AI project, right? However, things has changed because of how generative AI has taken the world by storm. It has been dominating boardroom agenda, right? So right now, there's more than one cases that I'll be sharing the actual use cases later. It's actually a boardroom directions that they want to put up a use case for the organizations and to actually first test bed and then pilot it and then expand it to be able to operationalize. So there are a lot of such cases in place that I would like to make introductions. But right now, really generative AI is dominating the boardroom agenda, all the way from 100% for all the high-tech companies, us as part of it, and the financial services, 98% of boardroom is actually talking about it. Even the lowest, like the retail or consumer products, there's like 93%. So only 7% of them are not talking about them for these companies, right? So that's how everyone will need to be, number one, start learning what it is. And if you're a board member, you need to know what it is, right? You need to know how it potentially apply, what are the costs, what are the risks, what are the benefits. And I hope that through this particular session, I'll be able, together with Pak Lee, we are able to share with you some of these aspects. And of course, we are happy to have a conversation with you after this as well. Right. So now for GenAI, while I think broadly people will know about ChatGPT, Sora is the latest one, right? We generate the video. Now you know all of these small little tools can be free. You can subscribe to it, but how it can be used in the enterprise, right? So there are many forms. The commonly seen form is actually the chatbot, right? Like ChatGPT, or even in organizations that later on we can take a deeper look. Is also through this way. You will get the input from you, basically what we call it as prompt, and then we will generate the outputs like text. And the text can be data, can also be a summarization. You can ask them like, hey, this particular GenAI, please help me to generate to generate a summary of it. Later on, we can see some of these use cases. And the other ones that are pretty good is search, which we'll cover that in a short while as well, right? You can use generative AI for search, and it is much smarter search that you have seen right now, right? You can help to generate, especially like AI company like us, synthetic data, right? That's one function. And of course, you can generate codes. Some of my software engineers do use that to generate codes. Of course, my ask for them is that do sanitize your code. Make sure that there's functioning and there's no loophole, right? So that's all the needs that you need. But obviously, there are a lot of benefits for us to adopt. And so on and so forth, right? You can generate audios and maybe have used generative AI for generating images and so forth. So a lot of good use for generative AI. Then you say, hey, I want to know how all this how this text data, source, generating source code, how it applies to me, right? So first thing first is that while there are a few things I want to point out for this particular charts that I quote is from Kewmann, a prominent player in consulting, but there are a few errors that I want to pinpoint. Well, the first point is that I wouldn't pinpoint as an error, but I think it's a difference of opinion. I don't think IT department is the hottest department to embark on generative AI, unless you are saying that there are a lot of them using it for coding and testing and so forth. That could be. But other than that, I think what I commonly see in the industry that has been using it right now for generative AI, sales and marketing, there are a lot, right? A lot are actually using it for product and service design, right? And operations. So this one are pretty popular use cases. And I also want to pinpoint two potential mistakes that even expert like Kewmann may have seen, right? So look at finance and look at logistics. While it is representing a low way of adopting generative AI, but I think the way they quote the example, like processing invoices and optimizing routes, are wrong, right? If for processing invoices and optimizing routes, you need traditional AI, not generative AI. So you can't be generating wrong numbers, right? So you want a definite numbers for invoice processing and for optimizing routes. So what I want to bring this up is that even for experts like Kewmann, they may actually confuse traditional AI and generative AI. But doesn't matter, all belongs to AI. It's just that I think for us to for better discussions, we try to differentiate that, right? So that's maybe Pak Bradley want to chime in? Yes.
Okay, Oke, let me try in bahasa ya. Jadi terima kasih Bapak Ibu, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya. Selamat siang Bapak Ibu sekalian. Mungkin sedikit yang saya bisa tambahkan, memang dari pengalaman saya, kebetulan saya background banking Bapak Ibu ya, customer saya kebanyakan banking dan financial industry, ini masih baru. Jadi masih menimbulkan kebingungan antara di beberapa pengalaman kami ya, bertemu dengan customer, ada kebingungan antara traditional AI dengan Gen AI. Tadi Pak Yokli memberikan masukan ya dari pengalaman di China terutama ya. Mereka nyebutnya AIGC atau AI untuk generate content. Itu lebih mudah dipahami Bapak Ibu daripada kita Gen AI. Bayangin orang masih bingung, suka kita jadi berbeda pandangan apa yang dimaksud dengan Gen AI. Tapi dengan terminologi Gen AIGC atau generative content, ya generate konten, menghasilkan konten. Dari situ sebenarnya kita mulai paham, memberikan perspektif, memperoleh perspektif yang sama tentang Gen AI. Nah, sekarang yang menantang Bapak Ibu adalah dari slide yang disampaikan Pak Yokling barusan. Terus bagaimana penerapan di dalam bisnis kita? Bagaimana Gen AI itu berubah dari sekedar konsep yang menarik, gitu ya, menjadi sesuatu yang lebih bermanfaat bagi organisasi. Nah, jadi hari ini mungkin kita ya, saya dan Pak Yoling, terutama Pak Yoling, kita akan fokus lebih detail untuk membahas bagaimana utilisasi Gen AI bukan hanya menjadi semacam slogan atau hype sesaat, tapi menjadi sesuatu yang bermanfaat bagi organisasi. Oke, thanks Yoling. Yeah.
Thanks, Pak Teddy. So let me carry on. Now, still have a bit of numbers before we go to some exciting topics about actual use cases, right? So go back to the same documents that McKinsey has produced. This is actually the real benefits, and that's why the board members are so excited about GenAI, right? So if you are 1 billion company with GenAI in place in sales operations, you increase 5%, for example, right? 3 to 5% of sales. That equals to, right, 50 million. If you are 1 billion revenue company, so a lot of all these benefits you can gather. If you run a 100-man software engineering, potential 10% increase. So potentially means that you don't need to hire that much, right? Or you can actually hire a 100-person for 110 person's job. So that's actually the power of generative AI. And you can see that, as I pointed out, in fact, a lot of my use cases are touching on operations or customer operations. This is the kind of benefits that we can realize. In fact, one of the use cases later, there are 60% reductions of the needs in terms of manpower. So I'll go deeper dive into that. Okay, we'll start seeing screen like this, right? So there are use cases that from other people, and of course, I think like this one, and of course, there are use cases that from us that I'll talk more later. So this is just a sort of warming up from what's going to come from a use cases perspective. First and foremost, this is a Awaya use cases. What it says is that in the older days, right? In the older days, the chatbot is which we built like 5 years ago is pretty similar, right? I wouldn't call it as stupid, but because it's actually based on what I call as intent, right? Oh, bang. What are the intent that you think your customers will come to your website, and what kind of questions or intent that they want to do? They want to check the credit card, they want to check the balance, blah, 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 right? So those are the intent. Unfortunately, if some intent the bank doesn't capture, or the customers doesn't capture, or us doesn't capture, and therefore you will have a situation like this. The basically doesn't the so-called chatbot doesn't understand what you need, and then it will create conflict and of course bad customer experience, right? So that's the before. And now with Gen AI, things are a little bit different. And it's actually able, because it's studied a lot of text, right? I think the whole world texts are being studied by a lot of large language model or foundational models, and therefore it will learn to predict. And ultimately, what is this Gen AI all about? Is predicting if it's talking about words, the next word, the next best word to be in that sentence, right? So it's just basically generating all that based on whatever text that they learn. It could be literature, it could be maths or whatever. That's how it works, right? So now it will understand this particular context and words, right? So I'll be right back and things like that. Okay, then I know what it is, and you can even respond in a very tactful way, just like a human being. That's why I think their notion about, hey, is GenAI can replace human? Is that smart enough to replace human? While they're still debating to read my true sense, and Pak Pedley can actually share his thought as well. No, right? Because it's basically still predicting the next word, right? Predicting the next pixel for images. So it is not at that level. It is very good in predicting that, but it doesn't have brain, right? It doesn't have context. So, but I think even that, this is a very powerful way that later on, I think there's one use case pretty similar to this, but smarter in voice. I'll talk more in a short while. Right. Now, if you have asked me, right, what is the best way to communicate? It is not through typing, right? It is actually through, it's not point and click. Ideally, I think I can type in human words and then I can get all the results. So all the large corporations will have reports, will have dashboard. Basically, we call that as business intelligence, the beautiful charts and so on and so forth, right? So now, all this business intelligence can be infused by summarization of the situation, right? So you have these charts that look like this. What does this mean? So you can summarize this, and rather than you as a business executive, you look at that. You are able to now read the text that summarizes the situation for you, and that's actually saved you a lot of times. So that's one way that generative AI can infuse to current technology like business intelligence. Now, one step further, right? So all of us like to, or rather for any of the information worker, I think Pak Pedley and I included, we do a lot of finding of information, right? So it could be searching for a piece of document, searching for any information. And we love to search, or we actually use to search. For a lot that have big organizations like hospital, banks, insurance, to name it, right? So there are different types of documents. And imagine that we are transforming from the era of computerization, digitizations, and so on and so forth. You have images, you have scanned PDF, and so on and so forth, right? The problem now is, how do you find information in human languages, right? That's the problems that we have seen. And therefore, we have created something that I would like to show you in a 2 minutes video in a short while. But in a nutshell, any kind of documents residing of your organization, combining with your structured data, right? That you are able to now do a human language search and retrieve that information at your fingertips. So before I start the video, maybe Pak Pedley can help in summarizing it.
Ya, thank you. Jadi begini Bapak Ibu, ini yang cukup menarik ya, kalau Bapak Ibu perhatikan di sisi kiri ya, itu kan dokumen type-nya itu ada teks, berbasis teks, ada image atau video atau audio. Artinya bahwa sekarang itu secara teknologi kita bisa mengcover bukan hanya structure data terstruktur, tapi juga unstructured data Bapak Ibu. Sesuatu yang dulu itu sulit kita lakukan gitu ya. Dulu kalau menggunakan data terstruktur gitu ya, tabel-tabel dalam database gitu ya, itu mudah gitu ya. Sampai sekarang saya rasa Bapak Ibu sekalian sudah familiar dengan teknologi tersebut, master mungkin. Tapi kalau data yang unstructured data seperti scan dokumen, terus kemudian image ya, JPEG dan sebagainya, terus apalagi juga video atau musik ya, video atau musik yang sekarang lazim digunakan. Terus bagaimana kita memproses konten di dalamnya? Itu kan cukup menantang Bapak Ibu. Gitu ya, kalau kita menggunakan aplikasi web standar gitu setengah mati Bapak Ibu. Sampai kemudian teknologi ini ya, teknologi untuk GenAI ini membantu kita untuk seperti itu. Makanya kalau Bapak Ibu perhatikan, sekarang Misalkan untuk GenAI mutakhir, misalkan contoh tadi saya menggunakan aplikasi Gojek atau Grab itu, mereka menggunakan dengan bahasa kita, Bapak Ibu. Sudah tidak lagi menggunakan bahasa yang formal, yang kita tahu itu diproduksi oleh komputer gitu ya, oleh sistem. Tapi dia seolah-olah menggunakan bahasa-bahasa slang yang mirip dengan percakapan kita sehari-hari. Sekarang selanjutnya nanti setelah ini Pak Yofli akan menyampaikan studi kasus yang paling mudah Bapak Ibu. Salah satu contohnya adalah memang smart access, di mana stakeholder dalam organisasi dalam semua jenis industri bisa memanfaatkan GenAI untuk meningkatkan produktivitas. Oke, thank you Yofli.
Thanks Pak Pedley. So let me start sharing the video. Okay, I think it's captured the essence of what I have been sharing earlier on. Now let's go back to the slides, and I would like to have a short summary of the video. Right, well, the situations is actually capturing the scenarios of one of our healthcare customers in Singapore. But it applies to everyone. Everyone will have the same type of files. Everyone will have the same problems. And you want your information workers, no matter they are medical worker, banks worker, insurance worker, to be able to use human languages like just now, right? Type a search. Please tell me more about this thing, and it can be combined a name. For example, if it's a bank, it could be a customer name, as long as you can access to that document. Let's say you are a wealth manager for this person, and also the particular type of documents that they have. Let's say policy documents of this Kewmann link, right? So rather than you search different places, it's all into one place. If you notice, one of the key features of the smart search is that you bring to the exact location of the file. Assuming that you have 100 pages of files, it could be scanned files, it could be scanned file combined with a text file whatsoever. You can go to page 4. Page 4 have that -21 forms, right? So that's where you save a lot of times for your staff, right? So that's actually one of the key applications in GenAI that they have developed. Now, before I introduce the rest of the applications that we have built, I would like to take a step back. Everyone thinks that ChatGPT very easy. I just type things, it will come out. I can go to Sora, I will generate videos. Those are all well and good for consumer usage, right? For an organizational usage, it is not that easy because we need to frame of an organizational mind. We need to ensure security. We need to ensure governance. We need to ensure quality, right? So therefore, as you can illustrate, as I'm trying to illustrate the customer journey of what happened for different pieces of technology that intertwine for this travel agent bot, right? So now you have customers that trying to interact with the so-called chatbot that powered by generative AI. You will still need to build a backend applications that have APIs that go into the right piece of either a transactional data store or a data lake or a piece of documents that the APIs have access to, and bring the information up and serve up that particular use cases. I'm not going to go through the entire pieces of workflow, but in general, I think you need to aware that applying generative AI in the enterprise world, you need additional thoughts, additional skill sets, and you need specialists to be able to help you, right? Now, let's go through some other use cases. And I particularly like this particular insurance use cases. Again, it can be insurance, it can be any other topics. I know that it is in not in English and not in Bahasa, right? It is in Mandarin. And the purpose for us to actually bring this up is that right now in the world of GenAI, it is disregards of which language you are in, right? We can do translations, we can process different languages. It is as powerful as that. So let me bring back to the use case, and I'll try to do some translation of what this piece of information is all about. So when you talk to the, this problem is pertinent to insurance, but I think it's cutting across all service-oriented organizations, including banks, including telcos, and so forth, right? So according to the insurance company that we have interact with, about 60% of the call to the insurance call center is actually call from the insurance agent. It's pretty normal, right? So basically, if you are insurance agent, you got a call from your customers and you've got to answer that, right? So you need to route the questions. Yes, of course, there are two ways you can do it. One is look through the documents, and I bet that a lot of insurance agents will just, hey, call back to your call center and then ask the questions, right? So that's caused the insurance, the call center agent to receive a lot of call from their so-called colleagues, right? So not a productive way to do it. So therefore, what this insurance company has done is a very innovative methods. You upload all the publicly available information and also internet informations to the insurance call center agents, right? And this particular knowledge base and also the chat function is also exposed to the agent, right? So there are two types of users. Now, if you have any type of situations, you can just go to this particular chat and get the answers that you want, because it has been trained with a lot of internal documents as well as externally publicly available information. So I just bring you through some of the conversations between this chat and also the agent. So one of the questions being asked, let's say the number one, right? Of course, this one for sure, this particular customer is trying to making fun of it, right? So it says that during 109 years, which I think seldom there are people who live that long, what is the money cost for this particular policy for me, right? So basically, because the context doesn't say you are male or female, it will actually respond both the male. If you are 109 years, the cost is 609 per 10,000 that you have some insured, right? And the female is slightly cheaper, right? So that's actually how it responds. Or you can also ask that, hey, this particular policy, right? Do you have dividends? And basically the answer is no, this doesn't have a dividend. So you can imagine that those kind of questions that pertinent to, let's read up this 20 page of policy documents or whatnot. No, right now you don't need to do it. The call center agent doesn't need to do it. You just need to load it up, get experts like ourselves to train it, right? And to do the prompt engineering. And therefore you get all these accurate informations that able to reduce 60% of the call from insurance agent to the call center, right? So that's the power of it. And now, it's a similar customers that for the next use case, though the language has changed. Obviously, good things travel very fast. Good news travel very fast. The same insurance company learn about this use case, and who is the smartest guy in the particular company. So Pak Padley will agree that it's likely to be a salesperson, right? So the chief distribution officer, and of course after that the product marketing team got wins about this. Hey, there's a GenAI deployed in our organization. The results very good. How can we use that? Is the questions, right? Now the chief distribution officer will have a use case, right? There are a lot of senior agent, those agency managers and so forth. They know a lot, right? They can talk a lot, they can sell a lot, but they are also rookies, the juniors, right? So they always need new information and things like that. One of the problem that they face is that they need to always compare different products. Oh, I am insurance company A, and then insurance company B actually have a new products come in place that is the same type of products. How can we compete, right? So those are the kind of questions that are always being raised, and they need FAQ. They need to compile all this, and they need to train the staff and so forth. So all these are cost to them. Why don't we have a 24/7 virtual assistant, or you can even call it virtual coach for this insurance agent and also the product marketing specialist? And in this case, what are the kind of questions that you can raise? Of course, first thing first, upload your document, your policy documents, right? And also upload publicly available policy documents, illustrations from your competitor, right? So all things up, of course, we need to train it to say that, yeah, this is type A of the insurance policy of yours. This is the type A insurance policy from others. And this type A1 is also the same, similar type and so forth. So we need to actually do that works to make sure that the virtual coach is smarter. And the next thing is that you can start asking questions, right? So one of the questions is that, what is the benefits of your products versus your competitor products? Now you can see the answer, right? And this is not the end game yet. I think I didn't include in this particular slides. Some of the questions asked is very tricky. So you can now ask, what is my product's limitation, right, against my competitor? So you know the loophole that potentially people will attack you, right? And guess what? You can ask the third questions. Despite my product's limitation, how can I sell against other products, right? So things are getting more fun, and you got the answers that you want. Especially for the insurance agent, the product marketing specialist, when you design a particular products, right? So, Pak Padley, you want to add any comments?
Ya, jadi demikian Bapak Ibu, memang menarik sekarang dengan perkembangan ini. Dulu waktu kita pertama saya sama Pak Yokling kita explore soal GenAI itu, kita pikir juga hanya akan berhenti di chat aja gitu. Jadi chat, information, jadi kita masukkan data gitu ya, data raw kita masukkan, terus kemudian dari situ kita akan bertanya. Tapi ternyata pada perkembangannya Bapak Ibu, begitu kita ngerti soal konsep prompt engineering lebih dalam, terus kemudian kita juga bertemu dengan beberapa customer ya, dalam konteks ini Pak Yokling dengan asuransi, saya dengan bank, juga dengan sektor-sektor yang lain, kita jadi ngerti bahwa sebenarnya banyak potensi-potensi dari GenAI itu yang belum kita tap, belum kita garap gitu ya. Dan memang sekali lagi GenAI hanya tools gitu. Terus berikutnya memerlukan ya man behind the gun, behind the tools, supaya membuat ini menjadi berguna untuk meningkatkan produktivitas dari bisnis kita. Nah, ini mungkin beberapa contoh example akan disampaikan oleh Pak Yokling, mungkin bisa memberikan idea untuk Bapak Ibu sekalian tentang bagaimana kita menggunakan GenAI demi kepentingan bisnis kita. Okay, Yokling, thanks.
Yeah. Thanks. So the next one is also pretty interesting. Is a work for us to do with one of the prominent IT call center, right? So as you can imagine, that IT call center is one of the highest costs is the 24/7 and so forth, right? And one of the key criteria for them to sell, because it's actually a kind of services that is commoditized, right? So how to play that game is, of course, price. You don't want to reduce your price, but you can play on the better service. How do you get better service that you can actually improve on your a service level agreement with your customers, right? So that's where one of the basis of this particular project, which is now you have a particular service level that even the industry has agreed 1 hour 30, or 30 minutes is something that we can do. Basically, you need to capture when someone call you, right, or my server down, or I have a production issue, I have something, right? You need to first, of course, treat it as if you are a person, then of course you need to do grading, you need to capture all the different informations by different scenarios, right? If it's hardware failure, these are the questions that you need to capture. If this is a hard disk fail, you need to capture another type of questions, and so on and so forth. And therefore, and you need to emulate the situations to, if you can't capture, or the caller doesn't actually answer the questions directly, then you need to ask the questions in a different way so that you can capture all this information. And then at the end of the day, you can now create a service ticket. So the time that people end the call, or the caller end the call, and you create a service ticket, that is the SLA that people tends to commit. Now we have actually changed the game from a 30 minutes one to 2 minutes, right? Because everything is virtual. The virtual concierge is not there to solve the problem 100%, but is to interject the call, read you, capture the information like a human, right? And then create a service ticket. So that's actually doable. On the screen on your left, right, is basically a screen that we built when we do internal training of this particular product, right? And therefore, you can see that the data, if it's able to capture the situations, if you capture the data, you then populate. And when you populate fully based on the particular situation, then we can end the call and greet the customers bye-bye, right? And then you create a service ticket. So that's where you are not just cutting down the needs for putting in 24/7 shift, but also change the game in your industry by changing the SLA from 30 minutes to 2 minutes, right? I believe there's a questions on Bak Rosti. I will come to that in a short while, right? During the Q&A. Now, this is in the context of a marketing and sales, right? So we have customers like in the insurance, in the payment networks like MasterCard, the banks, who adopt what we call as nudge, recommend, and reward. Basically, what we are saying is that when we want to change people's behavior, it's either go through you are being nudged, you are being recommended, or you are being rewarded. What's to do with AI then? So in this case, we have an engagement framework using traditional AI at that point in time, right? So what we are saying is that in your applications or in your online banking or online insurance website, and also any of your partners, we are actually going through these 4 A's regardless of your industry, right? You acquire new customers, you activate them, right? You accelerate the spending, the engagement, and then touch wood, if they are not so active with you, you want to awake them. So that's what we call the 4A consumer engagement framework. So what traditional AI would do is that we would guide the different, you segment the customers, right? And then we actually guide them, and we would be able to now able to say, this is the nudge, this segment is a nudge, this segment is the reward, and this is how you typically reward. Now, at that point in time, before GenAI comes in, it's very tricky. Let's assume that you have 10 segments and 20 products, which generally means that if, let's say, the AI in traditional AI said, these segments, you need to nudge them on this product and this product in this way, that's the recommendation. But you still need to design the nudge, you still need to design the recommend, you still need to design the reward. By using GenAI, the last part of designing the nudge, designing the rewards, designing the recommendation can be delegated to GenAI, right? So that's the power of combining traditional AI and GenAI.
Yeah. Yokling, can I add something?
Yes. Go ahead.
Mungkin salah satu contoh studi kasusnya Pak, dalam misalkan karena kebetulan pengalaman saya banyak di FSI, itu seringkali untuk bank yang mengeluarkan kredit card, Bapak Ibu. Ya, jadi kayak pengalaman saya misalkan dikirimi kredit card oleh BNI. Tapi setelah produknya dikirim, kartunya dikirim ya untuk kartu tambahan atau kartu utama gitu ya, setelah berbulan-bulan, beberapa bulan, saya nggak aktifkan Bapak Ibu. Dan itu common. Jadi dikirim kartu kredit card, kemudian yang bagian tersulitnya adalah mengaktifkan. Sedangkan bank memperoleh keuntungan, memperoleh profit setelah diaktifkan Bapak Ibu, setelah dikonsum, gitu kan. Nah, salah satu strategi yang paling efektif untuk mendorong aktivasi dari kartu kredit itu, misalkan dalam kasus yang kartu kredit, adalah dengan menggunakan metode seperti ini. Ya, jadi diberikan nudge Bapak Ibu informasi, oh kalau misalkan kita di posisi yang terdekat dengan Starbucks atau dengan coffee fore, misalkan gitu ya, ya dia akan tawarkan. Ya, ini Bapak Ibu sudah menerima kartu kredit dalam seminggu gitu ya. Apakah tidak ingin memperoleh coffee yang gratis gitu ya, promo, ya, terus kemudian juga diskon. Nah, itu dari penelitian yang ada Bapak Ibu, yang riset ya, walaupun belum kita bikin secara formal, itu hasilnya secara signifikan luar biasa meningkatkan aktivasi produk Bapak Ibu. Nah, ini salah satu contoh case study. Oke, thank you, Yuklin.
Thanks, Pak Pelly. Moving on, while the title says that in education, but in general, I think all industry, we need training, we need education, right? So, and right now, what GenAI would help is because the word gen is very important. It's able to generate a lot of things. You can put in a textbook or any form of information, in this case, just a PDF or even a JSON file. It will help you to generate evaluation. So in one of the healthcare customers of ours, we basically ingest the policy documents. It will help to generate three things, right? It will generate the likes of the competency framework. It will generate the questions like this, right? It will generate the answers. So in essence, I think this is a very good use for any training and development inside an organization. So as I mentioned, you can even generate the answers. You can even mark the evaluations, right? Even in not in the multiple choice, even in written form, we are able to use GenAI to help mark your evaluations. Now, the next topic here is about a pretty hot one for a very competitive industry like banking and insurance, right, or telco. And in the past, market and competitive intelligence, which typically asked by the product team or the marketing team, would need to actually generate structured information like this, right? Then we are able to get better. We can actually putting in text, right? For example, in this case, there's still some Chinese word because it's actually a Hong Kong bank, right? That we help them to do some the works here, and able to now find out why their competitors are better in what aspect, right? So that's where the current are able to do. And in the future with GenAI, what we are envisioning is that go back to the insurance use case, put in all this data, no matter structure and unstructured, right? We are now able to consult this AI agent, like as what Bill Gates has envisioned, right? It's actually a person, a virtual person, a virtual agent that sits next to you, that you can ask questions, and this data is actually residing in your organizations or brought in outside to your organizations and able to help you to answer questions like, hey, I'm Bank A, and of course the GenAI would know Bank A because you have been trained them on Bank A. Now, this Bank A, Bank B, what are the new launches of credit cards? How can I beat them? Those are where the future lies and the opportunity lies, that you can now rely on such a AI agent for your work, right? Now, that's another exciting part, right? This is actually, I always joke with my wife that we are actually doing God works, right? The reason is that we are able to help the doctors and the hospital, the healthcare provider, to save time. And while the image here is generally capturing from this Australia Council, but we are actually doing something real, which I'm going to share with you in a video in a short while. Imagine that right now you are going to visit the doctor, right? And the doctor likelihood will then start typing up the information about your symptom, about what you have told them, and then it will also, in the conversation, may give you the diagnosis and also may give you what's next and so forth, right? So imagine a 15 minutes consultation, easily 30% of the time, if not more, the doctors are typing, right? The doctor is typing, and when the patient left, you will then check through the notes and submit, right? So that's the typical situation. Now, what we have done for the healthcare sector is that we have actually built a medical transcription. And this is, number one, not rocket science if you have the right large language model. And with the audio, the speech-to-text technology. What lies on the power is the GenAI sitting behind. The reason is that now you transcript medically accurately, right? Next is that you need to summarize it in the form that the doctors can use or the hospital can use, right? So that's where the power lies, and you will generally save a lot of doctors' time in typing out the notes. So before we move on to the next slides, let me share with you a video. I pause here for a little while. You can see that this is purely transcription, right? So, and it just capture all the real conversation like okay and things like that. The next output is the medical insights and summary, right? So you can see that you have your chief complaint, the history, and so forth. That's where the doctor's times are going to be saved. While we are not suggesting that all the transcription, especially medical transcriptions, are 100% accurate. So far, I think the world has not achieved that. But if let's say we are achieve average rate of only 5%, now the doctor can just look at this particular word, change it, and go on and submit it, right? So because of time constraint, I think you've got the idea. I'm not going to show the entire video, but basically from a application standpoint, the use case right now is in medical consultation, but it doesn't preclude us from going through insurance sales, wealth manager talking to a private banking clients, and so on and so forth in the banking sector, right? So the use case are definitely humongous. Now, let's come to almost the end. This is the last slides, and I hope that I can use these slides to also respond to Bart Rusty's concern, right? So, take a step back. We are not actually applying ChatGPT in enterprises. We are not going to use Sora to generate videos for the enterprises, right? Especially in regulated industry like healthcare, insurance, banks, government. So this is not child play, right? It's not a consumer market. You need to actually address the regulators. And therefore, the framework that we apply is very important, right? So this is what we have actually used to help to allay the concern of the customers, especially in the regulated industry. Number one is that at the bottom layer is obviously your large language model. Regardless of whether you want to use cloud, use their APIs, or you want to use the open source model, that is fine, right? Because there are multiple ways that we apply this for generative AI, right? Now, apply that whatever that your organizations is want to have. If you are you don't want to go to cloud, definitely there are a lot of open source fine-tuned large language model like Llama 2, Mistral that we can use, right? Now, the next layer is that's where your organizational knowledge base, your files, your structured data, all will be put it in here, and your knowledge is going to be fine-tuned from this layer, right? And the concern about data privacy is real, right? And therefore, the next thing that you need to do is that looking at all this data, looking at all the users, how do you want to secure it? Where do you want to apply the data privacy? For example, the likes of a NIC in Indonesia, IC or social security number in the US, and so on and so forth, right? You also need to ensure that the data in this knowledge base and also the data lake is clean, right? So all these are action items that you need to settle. Before you settle this and you expose that to general public, that might be a disaster. And you need skillful and experienced people to help you, right? And now it's not just about data. It's also need to also aware of AI, right? In AI, there are a number of items that you as a regulated player, for example, in the FSI industry, will need to take care of, right? So now I want to use a joke or recent jokes that Google has sort of committed in here, right? So because of the fact that they try to be very fair, they try to be very woke in the US world, if you ask the Google to generate a image of Elon Musk, I don't know whether you have saw that, right? Is a black Elon Musk. It's not the real Elon Musk, right? So that's too much, right? So and in this case, I think why I try to relate this is that the answers that you as your organization generated, let's say in a chatbot manner, it belongs to your organization image and reputation, right? So, and therefore, how do we enforce that? For example, we may have to refer back to a particular document, right? To say that, oh, this particular information that we generated is actually extracted from a particular information, page 4, right? And then you can impose accountability and trust, right? And also the models, the fine-tuning, you need to also take care of the fairness, the integrities, right? So all these are applicable when you consider a generative AI projects in an enterprise. Of course, then you go through the fine-tuning and last but not least, the user experience aspect, right? So in a nutshell, now is coming to the end. What I want to allude to is that generative AI is available right now. As you can see, the use cases is not from somebody else, it's not from US, it's very near you and me, right? So it's all the organizations that we have been dealing with and they are applying generative AI, right? And now the speed of you enabling your organizations to benefit from all these use cases and more would be very crucial to determine your organizational competitiveness, right? We also have situations where we suggest to combine traditional AI, which we have been using it for many, many years, with GenAI to maximize the organizational edge, right? And I would strongly suggest that you can get started by partnering with experienced players, right? So that we enable your journey in a smoother way, right? Maybe I'll address a questions from the floor first from Bart Rosti. I hope that the second last slides earlier on has addressed your concern about the data privacy, because in essence, the data that we need special treatment first. For example, if it is going to be you need your nick or your name, for example, to be able to now get something. We of course all things apply, right? So tokenizations of this, you may need to perform the end-to-end data security when you transmit this information over. So all these are applicable, just like normal applications. So it will not tamper the data privacy issue as we have designed it before. So hopefully that answers your questions. Maybe I'll pass the floor back to Pak Badley. I think definitely you have received some offline questions.
Ya, terima kasih. Thank you, Yokling. Juga untuk Bapak Ibu, kalau ada pertanyaan mungkin bisa dalam bahasa, saya coba bantu translate. Tapi ini ada beberapa tadi pertanyaan ke saya. So Yokling, actually what's the difference if, for the organization just use ChatGPT or ChatGPT Plus to build something like, that you have sound during the presentation versus an enterprise GenAI. So what's the difference?
Right.
How I choose, how I make a decision, how my organization make decision to choose among one of them. Yeah.
Right. If you're representing an individual, not an organization, then of course I think feel free to choose whatever you like or you deem to be cheaper. For example, in this case, I think ChatGPT served me well when I want to find out the travel itinerary to Jakarta, right? That served me perfectly well because it is okay to fail, right? It is okay that ChatGPT give me a wrong answer and I won't suffer too much. Now, the most thing is that I curse and swear ChatGPT, right? So that's the one situation. Now, take a step further now into enterprises. If you are a bank, you are an insurance company, you are a government, you are running education institutes, you need to think about your reputation, right? You need to think about your reputation. So if you are purely using the ChatGPT Plus, it will help a certain individual in the organizations, a certain productivity gain, right? If I am, I'm a marketing person, I need to write certain content. That may serve me well, but bear in mind that whatever you ask ChatGPT or ChatGPT Plus or any form of a similar thing, the prompts that you have put in is going to be used to train. So there's no the secret will be leaked. I will point out one particular incident that happened, real situations that have been reported. Samsung, right? Some Samsung folks are actually testing out the codes, and it has been exposed to ChatGPT, and everybody now actually knows about Samsung trade secrets, right? The codes, right? So that's one of the worst things that will happen, right? If you simply use ChatGPT or ChatGPT Plus in this case, and without filter, and sometimes you can't differentiate what is classified and what's not classified, what is sensitive and what's not sensitive, right? So therefore, I think if you need to have a layer of data and also AI governance, right, to be able to now distinguish this is the work, this is actually sanitized by the enterprises, so that you as a knowledge worker, that you can now use it in a very safe manner, that you know that it's all protected by the organizational good works.
Thank you, Yokling. So now I will ask something that some folks ask me about.
Yeah.
Now after hearing your like comprehensive information and presentation, now my company, for example, my organization, really interested in implementing GenAI. So can you give me like a step-by-step explanation? How can I get started? How my organization can get started to explore or use the GenAI?
Right. Very good question. In fact, we got that quite a fair bit, especially either the CEO or the CDO got pressure by the board, right? Some of the early use cases are actually a result of that. My first reaction is that, hey, go back to your organization. It's all about business driven. Don't do something of I got GenAI project type of project. It is good, right? But it will serve you and your organization long. So let's talk to the operation folks inside the organization on what is the main problem that they face. The use case about insurance and the call center agent, the use case is actually one good example, right? So the COO actually found out that there's such a need there, right? Then the next question is this a good use case for GenAI? Sometimes people think of generative AI as solve all. I wouldn't claim that, even though I'm a provider of such a solution, right? So it may not be a good problem solver for a certain situation, but in this case, then yes, it is a pretty good fit. At that point in time, yes, you can start engaging vendors and you prioritize that, right? So use case 1, call center. Use case 2, my chief distribution officer wants something. My marketing wants something. So you compile all this, then you brought in an expert, and you just consult them, right? Of course, you can have a panel of experts and you consult them. Let them share with you what can be done, right? How long and things like that, right? So then you can assess the ROI for each use case, right? And then the cost, the risk, and how long it need to get done. How do you mitigate the risk, and so forth, and whether they have the skill sets and experience to handle that. So then, therefore, you can just plan out. And I would strongly advise that, just like a lot of our customers, while as a IT AI provider, we hope to get big projects, but I would strongly advise that you get step by step, right? So it is actually pretty normal that we have things in 3 phases, right? Let's do a quick and simple few days to a 2 weeks POC, just to prove that things are working in the environment, right? So and it's also addressed the user concern and so on and so forth. Let's have that quick and dirty thing set up, right? The next thing is that look at it from a pilot standpoint. Let's use by a particular department or a particular country, right? And then populate for the whole productionize it for the whole organization for the same function, and move on for the second use case and so on and so forth. So that's our experience, that to have a successful rollout of generative AI technologies to the extent that you can start benefiting from it.